in its day. These are the even numbers on your program. Later on, this afternoon, there will be parade numbers on the program.
Ladies and gentlemen, the usual commentator ain't turned up today, so you're stuck with me. I know bugger all about these garden machines, only that they're very good at inducing a hernia, and I shall get each of the drivers to have a word. Bye.
Engine goes everywhere on the road. Got here nice and early. Was here last Saturday, weren't you, Matt? You were here by last weekend, weren't you? Thank you for coming, Matt. Example of a Clayton Shuttleworth agricultural engine. Slightly different to the steamroller that we've just seen. It's obviously used for rolling and resurfacing roads. This engine here would have worked in stackyards and farmyards. Agricultural engine used for thrashing and general farm jobs. This is operated by John Garwood. It's a 6 horsepower agricultural engine built in 1899. You'll note that the steamroller has got ropes around the wheels to give it traction. As this engine goes around, you'll see that it's got what we call straights on the rear wheels, which gives it grip in muddy conditions. Owned by the Phelps family collection and operated, as I said, by John Garwood. Lovely little example of a showman's engine built by Robies. Owned and operated by Alan Hines. That was new to the Royal Army Service Corps in 1924 and later worked for West's, which was a showman's in Derbyshire. I believe that's now painted in their colours. It was rescued from scrapyard in 1959 and bought by Alan in 2007. Now, Robies started business in 1854. They were quite an innovative firm, and their traction engines were built to their own designs. They went on to build a lot of lift equipment, and Robies actually built the lift equipment for the Blackpool Tower. Built in 1918, we've been used on the fairgrounds. As you can see, it's fitted with a dynamo on the front for powering the rides. Nice engine. It was purchased by George Swan from Fred Harris of Clare in early 1954. Ownership was passed to Kevin Swan in 1984. It's a nice engine, very popular. You see a lot of it in the East Anglia region. She was built initially in 1916. Again, another agricultural engine, built for general threshing work on the farm. Right, this is a little Leyland tractor. And this is actually a roller converted to a tractor. Converting rollers to tractors was very popular within the engine's working lives, because they could use them for general haulage. You could also buy rollers as conversions with a conversion kit from their owners. This one was converted during its working life into a tractor. Now this is a bit of a hybrid. Oh, I can read that. This is a steam tractor. It's a mix between the Sentinel and an ERF. Built by Irving Barraclough and Sam Ward. The engine and boiler are from a scrapped Sentinel shunting engine rated at 100 horsepower, and the chassis parts are from an ERF lorry. The engine is 2-cylinder, boiler pressure is 300 pounds, and the transmission is via a 4-to-1 step-up gearbox. It's all on air brakes, power steering, and capable of 50 miles an hour. New to this rally, this is an Avon and Porter 10-ton road roller, built in 1917. It was one of 10 identical rollers to replace engines which have been requisitioned by the war effort. It's operated now by Daniel Tigney. We've seen it Oldham and Waldenfield over the last month. And Daniel, he's new to this, and he rode this engine about, and he's doing quite a good job of it. Makes quite a nice job of the tin work, nice and clean, nicely polished. Into the ring now. Originally this started as an Avon and Porter roller. Started life in 1892 as an Avon and Porter roller. It ended up working for Bomford and Evershed. Now Bomford's, when it got to 1938 and the boiler required a lot of work, Bomford's decided that the best thing they could do would be to fit a diesel engine on it. And what they've done, they've fitted a 2-cylinder McLaren diesel engine on top of the boiler. You'll notice, if you look at some of the other steam rollers, that all the basics of the steam roller are there. Now what we've done a bit of a trial with this, with a steam engine. It costs about £1 a mile to run this. The steam engine costs you about £4 a mile in coal and oil. And obviously, you can start this up with one-man operated.
National B275. Have we got the right one? Yeah, we can't see the number, so we're flying on instruments on this one, is it? Yeah, this is an International B275. I think it's the only one we've got here, actually. Well, only one so far. They have a 8-speed gearbox, a 4-cylinder diesel engine. Okay, we've now got a very early 14 Dexter. This would be a 90s. This was how it used to be done before these massive potato harvesters, and that's how it worked. The blade went in the ground, the tractor straddled the row. The blade, or the share, I should say, rather, the blade went up the row and lifted the potatoes and the haulm up, and then they were spun out with the spinner at the back there, and the haulm hit the guard on the side there, and the potatoes in theory were lifted, were on the top. So this was the easy job, spinning them out. The difficult job was picking them up, because you had to bend down to pick them up by hand, of course. So this ransom potato spinner and Fordson Baxter, owned by Ken Bailey from Great Yarmouth. So this is not, the next one coming in is actually one of the first of the Fordson ends, or first one in the V2, Fordson Standard as they were popularly known, made in their tens of thousands by Ford at Dagenham again. They were also made in Cork, and the Fs, which were earlier models to this, were made in the United States of America. For those of you who don't know, they started on petrol and then ran on TVO, which was tractor vaporizing oil. This particular tractor right at this moment is running on petrol. It's playing safe. So, unless he's got paraffin in the petrol tank, which is a bit unlikely. So, it's towing a trail mower. The tractor originally cost £175. Actually, I've got an N, an older one. But the interesting thing, for those of you who don't know, is the way the cutter bar works with literally a reciprocating blade running between fingers. You'll see that it's in the transport position at the moment. And that system of cutting grass or corn, even on the latest combine harvesters, is exactly the same. The principle is exactly the same, hasn't changed since 1800 and something or other. Anyway, very nice little outfit there, owned by Keith Haywood, and from Wickham St Paul's. Okay, we've got another of the B275s in here now. This is a 1961 model. It's purchased in 2000. The size of the hopper, which would hold what? 4 on your program is another unit owned by Mr. Zico from Curtin. This is fitted for Fordson Power Major, we talked about earlier on today. And it's again one of the to a ransom beat spinner, and I guess both of them worked most of their life in the Woodbridge area. The beat spinner was somewhat different to the potato spinner, but this was how it was done. They were just picked up, lifted up, and then out of the ground, and then were usually then hand-loaded into a trailer. Okay, we've now got this very nice David Brown 990 we saw earlier on, and for those of you who weren't here then, it's a 1962, 2005 in very rough condition. And Daniel Edwards, who's driving the tractor, restored it in his back garden, so there's something for you. A lot of work had to be done on that, which I explained earlier on today. But it's actually towing a wagon, usually referred to as a hay wagon, but this wagon has come home, so to speak, to where it was made, which was Long Melford. It was made by David Ward, who lived at Melford Hall, around about 1925, and that was some 87 years ago. It spent all its working life on the same farm near Cambridge, till brought for renovation by its present owner, Roy Chapman, in Great Sandford, Essex. It's taken 18 months to restore this wagon, which included having to rebuild all 4 wheels, which was quite a common thing with these old hay wagons. They were originally designed to be towed, probably not quite the right word, hooked to horses, harnessed to horses. What's the right word, Nick? We're struggling with the horse business, yeah. Well, a horse has towed them anyway. We'll get there in the end. And and then a lot of them, of course, survived, and they were converted to be towed with a tractor. They weren't very stable, that was for sure, mainly because of the height. And I know if you loaded sheaves of corn on them, you have to be really careful with them. So there we are, very nice hay wagon by yeah, thanks very much. On the heavy side from behind there, but nevertheless you can cart these around pretty easily. They used to have when they first brought from London Road, Braintree, my old stamping ground. So I think this is the first of the super majors. 27Ns we saw earlier on. Ford produced the Fordson Major diesel. Could be paraffin as well. Went on to the Power Major, which had more power, as the name implies. And then in the 60s, early 60s, the Super Major came out. This was, although it looked similar to the other tractors, there was quite some big steps forward. The main one was in the hydraulic system, in that it had a draft control hydraulic system, like we were talking about on the Fergusons earlier on. And it meant that much heavier implements could be used with weight transfer from those implements from Melford. This is a Fordson Major diesel owned by Mr. Bethke, and I've got it right. I've got my interpreter here actually, who does an excellent job. Mainly deciphering the writing is the biggest job, but he's been promoted to translator as well now. Anyway, this particular diesel Major was one of the early ones. It was installed 5 years ago by the previous owner, and it's actually got a Bike-and-Berry spreader fertilizer. And the next one is number 79 with quite a rare tractor in the UK, an Alice Chalmers ED40. Alice Chalmers were trying to catch up with the big boys at number 51, which is, I always like these tractors actually. They're International B450. Yeah, can't see the year. Guess it's a 1950, yeah, 1950 tractor, petrol paraffin, and it was bought in in the year 2000, and it gets used for ploughing matches and shows, and as I say, there were tens of, I don't know what the numbers were, was it 150,000 or something they made of these? It was a huge number, wasn't it? Yeah, at least that. It's probably more, actually. But anyway, this particular tractor is owned by Roland Adams from East Barton near Bury St Edmunds. Okay, here we've got another of the Alice B's, restored by Mr. Harvey some years ago now, and going to refurbish it again next year. It looks in great condition to me. What's wrong with it? No, these little Alice B's, as I said earlier on, were very popular on the with road crop work, because it had this wonderful ground clearance, and they made a really good mid-mounted mower for them as well, so you could... Okay, we've now got a John Deere These were affectionately known as the Popping Johns. obvious reasons. They make this popping sound when they're under load. They're actually a two-cylinder engine. The flywheel runs across the engine rather than the other way, which is front to back. And they were two-cylinder. They had a decompressor on the engine, on each cylinder. We've got over into the UK. This would be made in the USA. It's a tricycle version, and like we saw earlier on today, was very good from Market Western near this. Okay, we've got here now a Farmall Cub, made in France, I think, weren't they? Yeah. And oh, we haven't got any paperwork. Never mind. You'll have to come and tell us about it tomorrow. Then we can do a better job. Okay. Interesting tractor, a Fordson N, made in Dagenham, converted with these tracks. Not many of these around, in fact very few of them. It's a 1940. These tractors were churned out again in their thousands and thousands. They were the saviour during World War II. About 90% of the tractors in the UK during World War II were Fordsons. They were made in Dagenham. And the early ones were blue, then they changed them to orange in about the late 30s. But they were a prime target for the Luftwaffe. These orange tractors all parked on the edge of the Thames there at Dagenham. It was a known marker point for the bombers coming up to London. Petrol paraffin engine, 3-speed forward, 1 reverse. Land Army girls used to drive these during the war to help with the food production. This great tractor here is owned by Ricky Parrott from Epping, Essex. Now, we talked earlier on about the big manufacturers didn't make four-wheel drive tractors, and as a result of which a load of different manufacturers are very, very collectible, and it's nice to see an original one like this with even the right wheel weights on it. And they only produced some 214 of this particular model, but it was originally used to work on Felixstowe docks and was used for unloading Carlsberg beer. There we go. So your program, this is another of the Fordsons that these 27Ns that Ford were asked to produce by the British government and to help with food production after the war. Again, not the most popular tractor in the world, but its hydraulic system was fitted to the system. So the engine was very basically similar to the Fordson N, like that green crawler that's going round. But the tractor was much higher, had bigger rear wheels, and was also therefore capable of doing more work. Number 7 is a Fordson Dexter, coming along now. Number 77 on the programme. So a nice wooden cab. This is a Caterpillar D2. As I mentioned earlier on, if you weren't here, these are started by the use of a donkey engine. This one has got a wide gauge undercarriage. It's the first tractor that the current owner bought from the late Fordham in September 2011. Brought as a non-runner. The cab was removed for renovation. Rotten roof and windows. The original glass was provided and not in all of the windows when it was purchased. Anyway, all the rotten panels have been replaced. The donkey engine starts it was freed off and the magneto rebuilt, and quite a lot of work, excellent work was done on the engine. Tractor to transport. So, Caterpillar, this is an RD6, built in 1937. This again, like the previous one, Caterpillars, started with a donkey engine, and these tractors could be used for virtually anything. Earth scrapers, bulldozing, ploughing, but maybe not ploughing for this one because it's wide track. It'd certainly be very good on cultivations, that's for sure. Currently owned by Barry Lambert. Now we've got a really interesting little kit here now. This is number, was it 29? Was it? No, was it? Yeah, 34. Yeah, we got so excited about it, we forgot what number it was. Anyway, it's a Sanderson Mills, Model Z. A little bit of the history of Sanderson Mills. In 1916 they offered 4 models, 10 horsepower, 20 horsepower and 30 horsepower. And the top of the range was the 50 horsepower, which was the Model S. But due to wartime conditions and large government order, 400 model speed tractors, the others were discontinued. So the early history of this very rare bit of kit, and we'd like to thank them very much for bringing this along.
Number 22, and this is a model of a Fowler V6 crane engine. It's owned by Simon Stern. The Stern family have got several engines between them, and this is one of them. It's quite a good example of a crane engine. Fowlers were a manufacturer from Leeds. They built crane engines, haulage engines and ploughing engines. This is a good miniature example of that. 2-cylinder engine, crane on the front, belly tank hung under the boiler there for water, towing a nice pole trailer. Thanks, Simon. Right, now we come to, this is a model of a Garrett 4CD, and this is a 6-inch scale model. Now by 6-inch scale, 6 inches half size, 4 inches is third size, and this is a half size Garrett 4CD, built over a 14-month period, and was purchased by the present owner in February 2008. Fleets, this is Doug Fleet, and this is it's a 4.5-inch Foden wagon. According to Bev, the half-inch is very important, or so she says. I know nothing about that. This is an overtype wagon built by Fodens. Fodens were very popular builders of overtype wagons. It's called an overtype because the engine is obviously over the top of the boiler. It's a nice model, nice representation of the mark. Now this is a fine example of a single-cylinder barrel agricultural engine. This is 6-inch scale, so again half size. It's got a scale size farm wagon with it. It's owned by Richard Walton. Another barrel. This one is 4-inch. It's a model of a Showman's engine. You can see it's actually Showman's road locomotive. Got a dynamo on the front and the exciter on it as well. Another very nice engine.